This is Neil Schneider for MTBS-TV at GDC 2016. I'm at the Crytek booth. To my immediate right is none other than Frank Vitz, Creative Director for CryEngine for Crytek. Welcome back to the program, Frank.
Thanks a lot, Neil. It's great to be here and good to see you again.
As always. GDC 2016, big announcements from Crytek.
That's right.
Tell us about the latest CryEngine.
Oh, wow. Well, we announced yesterday CryEngine 5, which we've been working on for quite a while, with a whole host of new features, many of them, targeting virtual reality. I could go into a list of some of the stuff that's included. We've got support for DirectX 12, which, of course, gives you better access to the GPU resources for increased performance. But we based all of that on a complete refactoring and rewrite of our render backend. So we realized by doing that we could take better advantage of the DX12 interface, but that in and of itself has increased the performance of an already fast renderer as well.
So for those who aren't familiar, I know our viewership, they know this stuff like the back of their hand, but for those who don't, DirectX 12, I take it, it's an API or it's a means of getting the graphics cards to work. Exactly. Why is this so important for virtual reality?
Oh, well, because every little bit of performance counts in VR. In virtual reality, for a good experience, you need to be able to render at 90 frames per second per eye for stereoscopic 3D, and that's effectively 180 frames per second at fairly high resolution. So anything we can do to increase the optimization and the full usage of the resources of the GPU, we do it. And DX12 is one of the best ways of doing that.
That's wonderful stuff. Now, I understand you can edit in virtual reality as well?
Yes, we're showing a tech demo here. We got a number of tech demos. One of them right behind us here is the Sky Harbor, which is a VR tech demo. I have another VR tech demo over here showing on the HTC Vive, which shows the ability to... you're connected to the sandbox editor in CryEngine, of course, for doing all of your manipulation and creation of a level. Now you can go into VR while you're in the editor and pick objects, move them around, clone them, stack them. It's really not a complete full-fledged editor yet, but it's a prototype of what we believe editing and creating in VR will be probably in the next 6 months or so.
Now we have a separate interview with Basemark, but they're using CryEngine as the core of their software. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, that's cool. We formed a collaboration with Basemark back in August. The goal being to, of course, Basemark is in Finland, and they have a lot of experience in benchmarking performance of a whole different classes of devices. And for VR, knowing whether or not your computer as a consumer is going to be capable to run VR is going to be an important decision point, right? So they set out to make a benchmark that will test the mettle of your PC. And rather than making up a little piece of software that would twiddle the bits on the CPU and the GPU, they wanted it to be more real world. So what we've got now is CryEngine running a level just like a real game that's wrapped by Basemark's benchmark. So it does a number of things. It tests your hardware with a real world application, but we went to the trouble of, rather than it just being a little test level, we built this whole little experience that shows off the power of CryEngine 5. So it's got the GPU particles, it's got the DX12 rendering, it's got volumetric clouds. I didn't tell you about that, and all of that makes it really a lot of fun. You just saw it. It was pretty fun, right?
Yeah, I wanted to talk, because it's not just a benchmark.
No,
there's a little bit of a story behind it, too.
Right.
Maybe you could quickly tell the story that happens in the benchmark.
It kind of describe what the experience is
just
like?
Describe the experience.
Yeah, so it's actually there's a little bit of a preface to that, because the point of a benchmark, of course, is that it needs to play exactly the same every time you run it, so that when you run it and your friend runs it, you can be sure that the results you get are comparable, right? So a benchmark needs to be repeatable and objective. That kind of limits your options. You can't go exploring a world in a free world
and get the same result.
Right. So what we did is made a story that it always follows exactly the same camera path, and the story is always exactly the same. So when you run it in the benchmark mode, it's quantifiable. But as a viewer, while it's running in the experience mode, you can look around and see the story. And in the story, you are one of a whole series of maintenance droids who are called to the assistance of Sky Harbor, which is under attack by the evil forces of the Crown Patrol, and everything falls apart, and you find yourself in the middle of a giant battle.
And what's kind of neat is, it's hard to explain, but when you start the sequence, you're on a spaceship as one of the fellow droids.
Right.
And what's really neat is you look to your left, and the droid gives you the thumbs up, and then you give the other droid, and he gives you the thumbs up. But when I went through the demo, there was something familiar about it, about one of the droids talking to me, and I couldn't place it. And I realized as soon as I took up that head mount, I gave Frank a look, I understood immediately why. Maybe you could explain why that droid had familiarity.
Well, you recognize my vocal intonation and the tone of my voice. It's not actually my voice. We got a voice actor, but while we were developing the content and the storyline with my partner Erasmus, I did rough voiceovers, and we timed all the animation to that. So when we did the real voiceover after the fact, it had to be essentially lip synced exactly to what I had done. And the guy we had in the UK that did the voiceover mimicked my voice, and Neil actually could hear my voice coming through the voice actor, that's pretty weird.
But it wasn't the only one. Was there more than one?
All of the voices, yeah.
And did other people pick up on it too?
Yes, 2 other people said that. Was that you, Frank? So it's like, I don't know what that is, sort of channeling.
Can't hide it. You can't hide your voice, Frank. Yeah. So then the next question. So this was one demo. Then you have an updated demo for the Climb. Maybe you could tell us about this.
Oh yes, we're real excited to have one of the launch titles for Oculus Rift being done by our production group at Crytek, of course using CryEngine, and it's called The Climb, and we're demoing it here on a set of Oculus Rift systems powered by AMD hardware. And in that game, you actually are free to move as you climb these incredibly precipitous cliffs. And
precipitous and stressful.
Yes, because if you look down, if you have any kind of a fear of heights, you really feel like you're there.
Really exciting stuff. Like I tried it, and it was climbing, and it was going up, falling, going up, falling. There's also, you add some elements to the game, like you have to chalk your hands and all kinds of neat little intricacies. It gets pretty complex as you progress.
It does, and it gets more complex as you go, and there are different routes, and there are different types of moves you can do, and different levels of difficulty. They've done an amazing job, because the mechanic of it is such that how do you place your hand? How do you hold the grip? How can you swing? How can you can actually jump and go airborne? That's really stressful. I don't know if you did that as you were going up.
Yeah, I did it. Didn't succeed, but I did it. So the next question. So now we're seeing the software, we're seeing the content, really exciting stuff. But I understand Crytek is doing industry-level stuff as well. So tell us about your VR First program.
Oh, yeah. We have a new program that you mentioned, VR First, which is in affiliation with universities. We're setting up labs where we'll provide the software, CryEngine, and various affiliates will provide hardware, and the universities then can explore the possible design space of VR. I'm not really the expert on that, but we think that it's going to help build a user base for CryEngine, as well as providing a place for people to learn, how to create content in VR.
Why do you think this is so important?
VR in general, you mean?
Why is this VR First program so important?
Well, it's important because it opens it up to the masses and to students who might not otherwise have access to those kinds of resources. And it also puts it in a sort of a community context where the kind of projects that they take on might not be the ones that we would ever be able to get to, but everyone can benefit from working together on it.
I have to say, it is really exciting, because, the fact is, we're all dependent on good VR content.
Exactly.
And, if students are going to be able to get this in their hands early on, when they're getting set on, engines and how to code and so on, better early than late, I'd imagine.
Said it better than I could, even. But actually, there's something else we could say in that same context, which is that we also announced yesterday our new business model, which includes the fact that it's now pay what you want. So
what does that mean?
That means pay what you want. We make the source code, all the tools that we use for the engine, all the tools that our developers have for internal projects, available to people who log in to our new launcher, set up an account, and then they can download the software for free. But pay what you want means if you've find it of value, pay us what you think it's worth to you. And if you make a project that succeeds, we hope that you'll kind of think of us. It's basically the idea that it's another way of, again, building community, because all of our users hold us responsible for innovating on the engine, and this way we can expect them to contribute.
I understand, because it's a really good way to get the engine out there and get people working, because this is top tier stuff. I mean, this isn't like a rinky-dink engine. CryEngine is like...
It's arguably one of the fastest engines on the planet.
That's amazing, amazing stuff. One last question for you, just to put you on the spot. We're very proud that Crytek joined the Immersive Technology Alliance.
Yes, and we're happy to be a part of that.
Why'd you do it?
Well, because you have always been on the leading edge individually of the new immersive technologies, whether it's stereoscopic 3D, meant to be seen, and now the Immersive Technology Alliance. I think it's important for us as an industry to try to work together and find common ground, solve some of the problems, and do things in a collaborative fashion. And the ITA is a really good platform for doing that, much better than we could do.
It's an honor. That's all I can say. It's an honor, Frank. So thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
We're really wonderful stuff here at the Crytek.
I'm excited about all of this.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, really, when we look at VR and the way the industry is supporting it, it's not like a tech for the sake of supporting the tech. I really think the industry is sincerely excited about this, which means the products are going to be excellent.
People call it, 2016 the year of VR, but it's the year of the launch of VR. We still don't know exactly how it's going to be received by the public when it goes, wide, but
I think it'll be received very well.
Yeah.
I mean, the excitement is there. When people try it, they enjoy it. The products are coming out. All the big platforms are coming out with it. I'm expecting good things.
Me too.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Frank.
As always, my pleasure, Neil.
This is Neil Schneider for MTBS-TV at GDC 2016. We will, of course, be back with more. Thank you for watching.